So this is I titled it "Open Room," discussing basically Hermeticism, Gnosticism, a few things I want to touch upon. Um, there's a couple of books that I want to recommend. Anybody, I probably repeat this throughout different videos on my YouTube channel here and so on. One is the Kabbalion and Teachings of Tehuti, and there's the Law of One series, like 5 books, the Law of One. And then there is the Emerald Tablets, the Power of Now. Let's see. I mean, recommending my books is a little bit, I'll put the series title Hyacinth Pillars. This is a series title, but the parallels. More people are recognizing the parallels in the Prisca Theologia, the thread or core shared truth that's reflected in these different descriptions, different writings. I've had some very interesting discussions with a lot of great individuals who are, making their way down their own left-hand path, and some lengthy discussions. And there's more of a appetite and occurring with this almost like a convergence. Art Bell used to he had a term that I don't know the word, quickening, supernatural quickening, having to do with the souls incarnate that are, mm, because of previous incarnations, their position in the current incarnation, to be drawn to the congregation. And I've been calling the ancient community, which I write about, not mentioned in a couple of the books. I've been calling it the congregation because the 5 I wills. If you're into the cult and you have some background, you know about the 5 I wills. No, I will sit upon the mount of the congregation on the sides of the north. Yeah. Evocations for like calling out. I can see now that I'm going to have to do a little parsing and exposition on evocation, correspondence of awareness and sentience, across the 3 pillars: demon summoning, angel summoning, so on. Or clairvoyant access to spirit, like in reading the tarot, which is a facet of the awareness that is underlying the clairvoyant attribute of an individual that is accessing through their meta oversoul totality that is outside of the abode dweller, the creator, prime formulation, sentient, accessing. That's where the spirit and the messages, these things come through. There's a lot of old books and a lot of old traditions that, these old civilizations that are in history books, they used a lot of flowery, a lot of, they would relate things, flowers blooming and rivers flowing. And that's fine because that's how they communicated back then. But the magic science, the process now, as we approach the end of the fourth age, is the ways of energy working, specifically related to the expansion of awareness, the refinement of awareness, the intensity amplification of the sentient force of your energy consciousness. You know, Labor Cool say it's blended into the 10 elements that are dispersed across the 7 densities of your avatar totality. The other day I was thinking, I wrote a lot in this book series, and I have structured it in a magic science, more of a way that we communicate now, more of a straightforward kind of practicality, pragmatism. But even the descriptions and the inventory that I put forward, it is really there to. It's like the lemonade on this stand is better than the lemonades, probably better. It's a very refined and straightforward lemonade, probably better than a lot of the other lemonades available on tables elsewhere. But the point is to get you there to the lemonade. But it's that piece of pie that you're going to interact with on that table. Really, that's the language of the Zidoe, the divine language of the supreme sorcerer, the creator. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, the gnosis that I put forward is it's the most pragmatic and most straightforward, and well, you're just wasting your time. If you are open to studying all these others, but no, I'm not going to do that. But I hope that my gnosis is understandable. It is complete. It has closure. There are no great, some gnosis, they're not complete, and they cannot be completed because they have inherent flaws or inherent distortions of inventory and explanation that are just too distorted. We may offer some decent explanation for a few things, but there will be questions that the distortions in the structure that they have put together is just answering some things is just not going to be almost nearly impossible. And hopefully, what I put forward will be found to not have that flaw or detriment within it. The interest to the books, the quickening, the convergence, the appetite it's apparent for those that are paying attention. And you can sense the acceleration. It is almost an exponential acceleration. And I believe the forces, the awarenesses, the quickening, the convergence, I believe its process is will be experienced in that kind of vein, a faster and faster towards the resolution, vital revelation, and fulfillment of prophecy, and ascension to the next higher octave density of those that are harvestable. I need to do some brief outlines and do some videos discussing creator, prime formulations, sentience, the 4 fundamental forces that comprise its substance of sentience, the process of producing the second flame, scions, then the third flame, process of incarnation, death and reincarnation. Along with this, I'm not sure exactly how I will do videos breaking that apart because it's like almost like starting a big story or a big presentation, and then trying to find a place to break it off into pieces. have to determine some segmentation, not just so the videos aren't too long, but people can go by the titles and zero in on something that they want to go over again. I want to mention David Griffin, uh, former Imperator of the Golden Dawn, and his wife. They are elder practitioners, and I believe them to be. I believe them to be very. They're very dedicated. It's not that they're elderly, but they're getting older. But they perform the opening the treasury, the dawn and evening ritual in their front yard, and they record it. They do it in the morning and in the evening every single day. And you have to respect that kind of dedication. If practitioners would take their example, and I believe a lot of the value that they have is in that example. They Practitioners could achieve so much in the awakening of their soul and their own personal spiritual energetic development. That's why I tune in and watch their videos. Not very many people tune in to watch their recordings day in and day out. And they use the Enochian, and I hope David is doing well. Sometimes he's not there and she does it. A little concerned over the health of David, but he's the type that you just about have to kick him over a big hill before he would not go and do what he's determined to do. That is a display of unbending intent. It is a quality of character, of being, that people could really use to follow that example. I've been fortunate to have some people that are seeking consultation. If anybody's interested in consultation, pretty simple, through PayPal, and I start everyone out, no matter their experience or where they consider themselves to be. I start everyone out with some basic elements, and that's the candle flame meditation twice daily, and it is the practicing speaking daily Enochian words, phrases, meditations, and the first valuable and effective evocations. These inculcations follow a process through the books. As that process is followed, then it is an efficient structure, efficient process. Like an efficient academic regimen. And it's not my genius that conceptualized all this beforehand. It being that the works are divinely inspired and assisted, this came about because of that involvement. That, and only that. Well, I would say only that. I mean, I got to give myself some credit. I mean, some tiny little bit, and then don't indulge in that and toss it aside and go on about my business. But anyway, it does have a process. The the first three books, the first book, Language of Angels, it includes meditations and consecration, casting circle. The other day I was discussing that a person can practice, say, an Enochian invocation, um, casting a circle, even though you're not going to do a ritual. Cast it, banish it, cast it, banish it, cast it, banish it. And this practice of speaking, and you can consecrate descriptions on language mechanics having to do with pieces that I've introduced that didn't exist from the work of Dee and Kelly, like the absent character phonetic, um, the 3x3 basic structure of most inculcations are in the Enochian 3x3. There are 9 pieces. The chants are 9 pieces, smaller pieces, repeated 9 times. And then there are a few larger um, uh, pieces that are typically follow in that 3x3 format, but larger though. But those are for specific things that you wouldn't necessarily you would include in the growth process if followed. The Gnosticism, Hermeticism, if a person reads the Kabbalion, studies the Emerald Tablets, um, this is very good. It's very good to have that. Um, if you pick up my books, because they are basically feathers of the same wing. They're feathers of the same bird. The speaking of the single words, even names such as Teloke Gahe, elder spirits, angels and demon names. Those are unique in that there is a correspondence, there is a connection, an energetic like touching that occurs. Now with your regular vocabulary, this has more to do with repeating these and practicing words such as your mundane vocabulary. That has to do with the soul, energy consciousness, which of course knows this language. You awaken it by using it. You awaken the remembrance that is within the very energy consciousness that is giving you sentience and animation for the temporary avatar incarnation that you're experiencing. And the more you practice it, the more natural. It doesn't take very long. It's very interesting. It's not that you will know all the words and you'll learn French, you learn Spanish, and you have these large vocabularies memorized. It's not that. It's that speaking it, you become fluent rather quickly. And this is not because the machine mind is running at top tilt. It's because the soul remembers. And it doesn't take long at all. I've noticed a pretty standard portion of time that people, they really, it's almost like in a previous life they rode a bicycle. It doesn't take very long at all for them to be riding one again. There are times when you're reading an inculcation and you get to a word and the way you're pronouncing it just doesn't sit right. There's an inner knowing. This is the connection to the meta oversoul, which resides outside of the perpetual genesis and amongst the infinite intelligence. It's through this, it just doesn't set right until you speak it right, and you know. And this occurs with everyone. And no matter what the evocation or invocation is, you could take the books and instead of doing a 3x3 3 times, read it twice, and then read another one twice. This has a tremendous benefit. And just like candle flame meditation. 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. A person might think this is something small, something. How could it really have an effect? Well, the wind is something you can't really even see. It's sometimes you can't even feel its presence, but it can build up. It can build up to such a strength that changes the world. Candle flame meditation twice daily is, once you get past about 100 days, becomes something that you have a natural inclination and appetite for, and it will not sit right with you to not do it. But a person has to have that kind of, David given unbending intent to get through those. There are portions of the gnosis, kundalini energies, the evocation, invocation, energy, magic science specifics that I need to put down, arrange, and present. Now, in the book I'm working on now, book 7, this book is not that type of book. The book 7 is basically a an all-spark book for those that will be of the congregation of the ancient community, benefiting them, reading and speaking the Enochian and the inculcations that are in the book, but also joining and putting that into the collective perpetual genesis. People do not value the fact that their energy consciousness was kindled from the great flame in the beginning, and that there's no one for them that they should lower their head for or feel inferior around. People shouldn't have a high concept of themselves, but they should, remembrance and the knowledge that the flame of each incarnate, the perpetual genesis creation, it rests upon those that are at any given moment within one of the three pillars together. And as some die and that energy consciousness recedes and shifts from being back into existence, the ones that are still within the collective dream uphold that collective dream. And then they return, and others leave, and others return and leave. But there's always that congregation. But the congregation is typically unattached, disassociated. But this book 7, it will highlight the supernatural quickening convergence and congregation, connecting by aligning harmonic, resonant frequency, consciousness, density, sentience, force, and frequency. And extraordinary events will ensue. One of the disappointing things that people encounter, you could see it in their faces, in their manner, is when presented with the Toltec Nagualism tradition of sorcery describes the necessity to shatter the mirror of self-reflection, discard, and be rid of the self-image, so it can no longer exert pressure and force upon the soul and extract energy through the attention daily from you, depriving you of the necessary energy you need to work with to awaken the energy consciousness soul within you. Most people remain in that debilitated state until they die, and out and back in again to do it again. As this convergence quickening congregating occurs, you still have individuals that are faced with this challenge. In the Toltec tradition, until you shatter the mirror of self-reflection, and self-importance, self-pity no longer even existed to you because those are the names of the force and pressure that's exerted upon the soul by the self-image. Until this is done away with, until the energy is stored and it tilts the other way and the mirror of self-reflection is shattered, you are actually an apprentice. How could you be an apprentice until you dealt with that? You cannot. It's like having blocks chained to your legs. How can you get anything done in such a state? You cannot. You see the disappointment in their face. Self-importance is simply self-pity wearing a mask, masquerading as something else. The pressure and force are intimately related, but self-pity and self-importance, the indulgence of these things, this is the indulgence to need and want. Knowledge and wisdom is over here. Need and want is over here. You cannot have both. Your awareness is either wasted on need and want, indulgence in the relinquishing of vital energy, so you will never wake up, or you go to knowledge and wisdom. It's one or the other. You see the disappointment in their faces sometimes. Some people will just stop discussing and just leave the room, whether it's a physical room or a room online. It is, it's almost like telling a child, you have to give this up. You're never going to be an adult, and they're just so sad, so sad. Self-pity. It jumps up and is like, "Hey, now, how dare you? Who do you think you are? We'll just roll out of this. We're not having this." You got to be a little ruthless with yourself. Stop having compassion for yourself. You're wasting your energy and your time. I don't mean be cruel to yourself, but ruthless sobriety is a pragmatic state of not indulging. Get with it or get lost. And I assure you, those that don't get with it shall be lost in the harvest. People will really have a tough time with that. It really will be, as it always has been, a very big hurdle to really proceeding down the left-hand path. People can imagine themselves traveling the left-hand path. I've been on the left-hand path for 20 blah, 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 years, this one. But if they have not dealt with this, they have not went anywhere. And they cannot go anywhere. Because the path before them is such a mystery. And they don't have the energy. They don't have a relationship with knowledge or wisdom. How could they proceed down the path? Indulging in need and want. Energy depleted daily. Across the mirror of self-reflection. They're not going anywhere. They're fooling themselves. But it's actually self-pity and self-importance that's really whispering in their ears to fool themselves. It's a very diabolical pressure and force that self-image exerts upon the soul. Some people embrace this knowledge because they apprehend the true value, no matter how uncomfortable accepting it or dealing with it successfully will be. Others they lose sight of that. This is where those that truly are seeking the narrow path will be those that will go down the broad and indulgent path. A supernatural congregation of the ancient community, yes, definitely will be part of the broad path individuals and the narrow path individuals. Yes, mark these words, put it on a billboard. Do a reaction video. Let's get it out there. It's like, man, that guy sitting over the GoPro in the Appalachian Hills, how the did he know this shit? Well, same way anybody else can know this shit. Put some fucking effort and make decisions that are absent of want and need. All those of the second flame that have had many lifetimes before will have the benefit that comes with that almost a carryover essence. But don't fuck that up. You know, when someone starts out with everything they, a lot of what anybody would need, and they totally fuck it up, it's much more cringe and sadder than someone who's just got a few things and they're trying to muddle along. You know, it's more understandable, but to have most of the things and advantages from this carryover essence of past life progress, to squander it, waste it. Wow. That's double fuckery upon oneself. Probably should avoid that. Coming up on the blessed number 42, a very special number. And those who gain wisdom and knowledge will come to know directly the involvement of this number. And I think that's enough for now. I'm just going to sit here quietly until the clock ticks over. If you're watching this, you can eat potato chips or, sweep or open a window and yell at your neighbor. Feel free. And the whole of the law shall be, hey, you do what you fucking want. It ain't my bitch. It ain't my bitch. Row, row, row your own boat, motherfuckers. I'm putting an outboard motor on my motherfucking boat. What? It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine, I'm gonna have it shine, shine so bright. See the light, see the light. So ponder these words, or don't. You know, go on free willing it. But either way, you'll see where it gets you. All right. If you've watched this, receive a blessing from above. Namaste.